Okay, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday. If you're standing on your tiptoes, you can almost see the weekend from here.
Yeah, there was a groan, a sigh from me last night when I realized that tomorrow wasn't going to be Friday.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. It's Thursday.
I did see you. I got a nice photo of you playing hoops with your kids.
Yeah, kind of around my kids because this is the problem. I didn't realize, I got a nice big yard,
right,
which is great,
right?
But it slopes downhill,
right?
And I don't have like a backdrop behind the basketball hoop, so every time I miss, I get to take a little walk through deer poop and mud.
Well, hold on,
down to get the ball.
Isn't that why you have children, to go chase the ball for you?
Yeah, and my 1-year-old will do that, but
he doesn't bring it back.
Yeah. So,
all right. So John King, a little family story there from John. So tell us what's going on in the world for this first day. By the way, it's open phones. If you have something going on in your life that you would like to share with everybody, the things that you're concerned about in the community or in the nation or in the world, 721-1290. Keeping in mind, we'll be visiting with Dr. Alex Apostle at 9. So
that's right, 9 o'clock. So we got about half an hour.
Right.
Get stuff off your chest. 721-1290 is the number. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of it has to deal with terrorism, sadly. There's been lots of comments on how the U.S. should deal with terror. Right, just yesterday, the president had a big speech at a summit to try to deal with extremism.
Right.
Not Islamic terror, but extremism around the world.
Yeah.
And we also had some questions from one of our listeners on, well, it would be 2 days ago, last time we had an open phone segment. We were reading about those, ISIS had burned alive some 40 people in a town called al-Baghdadi. At least that's the report that I read shortly after we got word of it. Anyway, this guy called me up and he said, hey, can you look into this for me? Because al-Baghdadi doesn't seem right. That's the name. If you know anything about ISIS, the head of it, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, is the kind of the penultimate king, lord, whatever you call it, of ISIS.
Isn't he like, maybe it's his hometown or something?
Which is, it's kind of curious to me. This guy is the head of this organization, which is famous for all its press releases and stuff, but he's only ever been on video once. Osama would send those missives out decently regularly, would appear on foreign news even before.
And he wasn't camera shy at all.
Well, anyway, so they burned, from what I can tell, al-Baghdadi is a town. It's a little bit north it's mostly east. So northwest of Baghdad. And it is not far from an air base where we have military stationed called Ain al-Assad.
Okay.
So that's for that particular caller. Now to the news. Now, last time we were on, we were joking about this comment by Marie Harf.
I know.
Who is the State Department spokesperson.
Number 2 spokesperson
in the State Department.
Have you seen this woman?
Oh, yeah.
She looks like she's about 12.
What?
I mean, she does. She looks like she's a grade schooler.
Peter, with your time perspective, everyone looks like they're 12.
Let's just say she looks very youthful for being in such a, big time making statements for the United States of America position.
She has worked for a while. She's worked under generals and other departments. I mean, she's got a pretty decent legacy of work. She's done more than Hillary Clinton probably.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. All right. So,
but other than the fact that Hillary ran the State Department,
right,
of which her greatest achievement was flying around the world, she says. That's her saying that.
Right.
Anyway, so here's her response about the jobs. She was asked to explain, what about giving terrorist jobs? What are you talking about by Wolf Blitzer? And here she goes.
She doubles down on this. Here we go.
If you think about, if there's a radical jihadi on the internet who's putting out hateful videos, that's powerful and dangerous, right? But if there are 10,000 men in a country who are willing to blow themselves up because of what that person says on the internet, that's much more dangerous. So how do you get at those 10,000 people? How do you get them not to pick up the AK-47 and instead do something more productive and positive with their life? That's what we're trying to get at this summit, looking at the long-term problem, not just the short-term one.
So you suggested that maybe if you find these young men jobs, they might not become terrorists, right?
Well, I think that's a gross oversimplification. What we've talked about is there are things like good governance in countries where if there is not good governance, it can create a vacuum and a space for terrorist organizations to recruit and get people to their cause. We've seen that in Libya. That's the perfect example right now, where there's a lack of governance. You've had young men attracted to this terrorist cause. Where there aren't other opportunities, we've seen this, in a number of places around the Middle East and around the world. Unfortunately, people turn to terrorism sometimes. So how do you get at that root causes? That's really the bigger point of this week's summit.
But you know, of course, that some of the best-known terrorists out there came from wealth and privilege,
Absolutely.
with higher education, degrees,
Absolutely.
whether Mohammed Atta or bin Laden himself.
Absolutely. And look, countering violent extremism takes on a variety of different ways you can do that here. Part of it is military. Absolutely. We are taking direct action against ISIL in Iraq and in Syria. But look, if we look around the world and say longer, we cannot kill every terrorist around the world, nor should we try. How do you get at the root causes of this? It might be too nuanced an argument for some, like I've seen over the past 24 hours from the commentary out there, but it's really the smart way that Democrats, Republicans,
Zing.
military commanders, our partners in the Arab world think we need to combat.
So just to be precise, I want to give you a chance to respond to some of the critics who have been out there.
I'm
when
happy
you said
to.
it's important to find these guys jobs so they don't become terrorists, explain what you meant.
Where there are places around the world where there's a lack of governance, a lack of economic opportunity. President George W. Bush talked about poverty being one of the drivers that leads people to extremism. Where there are lacking in these kinds of opportunities, we need to talk about how to make that different, how to help our partners around the world give young men in that vulnerable age group a different path in life, show them that there's a different chance for them than joining a terrorist organization. Again, it's one part of it, Wolf, but this is a really comprehensive way of looking at how you combat extremism, and it's not one that fits into a soundbite sometimes, as I've seen over the last 24 hours, but it's a really important piece of this.
And the reason was 24 hours ago, you said the issue of jobs, find these guys jobs,
Yes.
They might not become terrorism, so there's been some buzz out there, some criticism of you
buzz.
as a result. How are you dealing with it?
I don't read it.
Okay. Marie,
That's how I'm dealing with it.
Stand by, Marie. We're
Okay, there you go. 721-1290 is our number. We're going to take a break. Tyler, I want to give you plenty of time to make your comments, so we'll take our break and come back. And my imagination is just going crazy with the various opportunities that we could offer to these folks to keep them busy. Anyway, we'll come right back with more of Talk Back in a moment. This is Talk Back. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. And we have kind of a surprise guest. We are absolutely thrilled, though, to be visiting with the State Insurance Commissioner, Monica Lindeen. Good morning, Monica. How are you?
I'm great. How are you this morning?
Great. Now, I understand you are not in Helena right now. Where are you?
I'm actually in New York City this morning. They have me doing these radio interviews from coast to coast.
Wow. Well, we are thrilled to be.
I had to get up early.
We are thrilled to be a part of this. So, I understand you want to talk about small business from your perspective. What's going on?
Well, we're here to talk about home-based insurance and some of the pitfalls you need to be aware of, and making sure that you have the appropriate coverage as a home-based business.
Okay, now I have a home-based business. It's just a little one-horse deal. I do commercials out of my basement, so it's really quite of just a one-person operation.
Not a home basement business. It's a home base.
so is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about small businesses of 50 people or less?
No. Your type of business is exactly what we're talking about, because I think that in your case, folks who are running a small business out of their home think that their homeowners or renter insurance is going to actually cover any of their business needs, and that's not always the case, as you know, correct?
Yeah, absolutely true. So tell me what kind of things we should be looking for, Monica.
Well, you want to make sure that you have the appropriate liability coverage. For instance, you probably have a lot of recording equipment, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you want to make sure you have, if you have a fire in your home, you want to be able to replace that equipment. And so your homeowner's policy is probably not going to handle that. So you do have a policy then that will cover recovery or replacing that equipment as well. And you want to know that most homeowners' policies exclude business liability claims as well. So if someone gets injured in your property, your homeowner's policy wouldn't cover it either.
Well, is there a policy that would cover a child stuffing a sandwich into my recording equipment? Not that that's happened before, but it came very close.
What did your insurance agent tell you?
Yes. Seriously speaking, though, let's say somebody has a little, like a salon in their basement, or where they actually cut hair or do personal services like nails or whatever, and they come in through the basement. Maybe they slip and fall on a patch of ice on the sidewalk. And again, you had just mentioned that we would assume that our homeowners insurance would take care of that, but that's not so if it's a business, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, because your homeowner's policy excludes business liability claims, so you want to have the right coverage.
So where do we go to get this kind of insurance? Yeah, where do we go to get this kind of insurance coverage, Monica?
Well, you're going to want to talk to your insurance agent about the type of coverage that's going to be right for you and your business. If you don't have an insurance agent, certainly you're going to want to talk to somebody else who's a small business owner and get some recommendations. And you can always call my office if you aren't sure about whether or not a particular person is, the insurance agent is properly licensed in the state. Certainly you want somebody who's licensed and doesn't have any serious complaints against them. So always call our office as well as a resource.
Do you get many claims on these sort of cases over at the insurance office here in Montana? Like where people thought they were covered and the company said they weren't, and
yeah, you'd be amazed at some of the calls we get. And certainly we get calls from folks who think they had coverage when they didn't, to small business owners, and all sorts of other issues as well. That's why I think, folks unfortunately think that their insurance covers everything, and it doesn't. It's very important as a small business owner to understand what's covered or not, because it could put you out of business.
Well, speaking to other small business owners like myself, who probably have bigger businesses than I do, but it's tough enough to operate a small business anyway, with the whole tax structure, the way it's put together, and of course you have to pay everything yourself. And now we need to think about something that we can actually protect ourselves with, right?
That's exactly right. Well, and the other thing that folks don't know as well is, okay, let's say you've got the personal property liability coverage. What about workers' comp? A lot of states require workers' comp insurance as well. So as a small business, even as a home business owner. So you're going to want to make sure that's in place. One of the other types of insurance that I've mentioned to folks is, in case you have a partnership in your home-based business, is whether or not you want to purchase key person life insurance. And you know what that is, correct? That's when, you have a key business partner who, if they happen to pass away, then the insurance would cover a lot of expenses, like buying out the heirs, paying off loans, and making sure that you can continue to operate your business.
Yeah, I can see how vital that is. So that one horse you own, Peter, you should probably cover that guy.
Should insure a Pinto,
Mr. Ed, yeah.
Yeah, make sure the horse is insured.
But he's so talented, though. Wilbur. Okay. but so now, how long will you be in New York City?
I'm coming home. I'm coming home tomorrow.
Oh yeah, okay.
Just for 48 hours.
So do you go out into the middle of the street, kind of like Schweitzer used to do, and pose with the giant bus and stuff?
Heck no.
Now let me ask you this: is the weather?
I might get run over.
Yeah. Is the weather inclement in New York City? Because I know Boston's been deluged with snow.
Yeah, it's a little bit chilly here. In fact, I should have brought a heavier coat. I guess I was too used to our 40, 50-degree weather back home.
Well, yeah, you're used to tropical Montana, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, listen, Monica, any other advice you'd like to give our listeners regarding small business and how to protect ourselves?
Well, I would request that if you have a small business, home business, or you're looking at starting one, go to insureyouonline.org. That's insure, the letter U, online.org. There's a bunch of tips and tools there, for folks. And there's some quizzes that test your knowledge for small business owners as well that you can look at. And always, if you have any specific insurance questions, you can always call my office as well.
Fantastic.
It's great talking to you, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you, Monica. It's a pleasure visiting with you. Have a safe trip home.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. There's Monica Lindy.
Don't
Wow.
get hit by the bus.
Yeah.
But go say hi to that naked guitar guy. Is he still out there, I wonder, in this cold weather? Because that would be a tough job. What does ISIS think of that guy? So many questions.
I do not think that would be an appropriate a job for a struggling, trying to find a job terrorist.
But seriously, I'm sure there's someone in the State Department right now whose job is to think of good jobs for people that are in ISIS.
You and I were kicking this around
Yeah,
earlier. Things could get us in big trouble if we
Door-to-door Cutco knife salesman. I don't know. What sort of things?
Cosmetology. Tell you what, let's take a break before we get ourselves in any real trouble. We're going to come right back with more of Talkback here in just a moment. And we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so both the State Department and the President's Secretary, or Josh Ernst, the communications person,
right,
have both pushed away from saying Islamic extremism or Islamic terrorism.
Yes.
So Tim, one of our listeners on Facebook, sent in his recommendation. Why don't we call it perverted Islamic terrorists? A new term.
PIT.
The pits.
Let's get Tyler on the line first. Tyler, good morning. What's up?
Hi. So, do you guys have a chance to go through President's comments from yesterday?
I have a segment of them. I don't have enough time to play them and get all of my callers on, so I'm going to turn to my callers who I like to listen to a lot more than the president.
Well, he said yesterday that no religion is responsible for terrorism, and no religion is responsible for committing acts of terrorist or violence against other people. It's people that do this, right?
Yeah, he did say that, yep.
Yep. So just last week, he stood in front of the prayer breakfast and blamed Christians for something that happened 800 years ago, and threw that in every Christian's face across this country. And then a week later, turns around and defends Islamic terrorists by, saying that no religion does harm like that. It doesn't make any sense. It's almost like he's reading from two different books.
I find it really hard for a politician to not see the power of ideology. And I think he's a little disingenuous in this. I think he wants to separate religion from ideology. You ask anybody and say, hey, is Nazism dangerous? Can Nazism kill? And yeah, you're right. Nazism, the ideology, doesn't go out and kill and gas Jews and threaten its neighbors, right? But the ideology itself is so against humanity that it threatens humanity, right? It inspires others to commit violent acts.
Well,
and that's the problem that radical Islam finds itself in today. I mean, it is a detestable ideology, at least in the way that it's being practiced by ISIS, that threatens its neighbors and literally targets those of other religions.
Well, but Nazism wasn't a religion. One, it was just
it was an ideology.
It was an ideology.
But
so
here's the bridge between the two.
Okay.
The thing that's really different about what ISIS is doing is it's not just a religious ideology. It is a civic structure. That's why they're calling it the Islamic State. They're binding religion to a political ideology. They're putting literally a system of government in place.
But John, it mirrors what the Nazis called the Third Reich. I mean, they wanted a governmental system that would last 1,000 years.
Exactly. I mean, that's why it's different. It's not just a religion like we have separated it over here in the United States. It's a religion with a state.
Okay.
But here's the interesting thing, is the president's up there saying this has nothing to do with Muslims or Islamics or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. And you have the people on the right, the conservatives, that are standing up and saying, we have to name this by what it is, and it's radical Islamics. It's radical Islamic terrorists that are doing this, and the president's going out and saying it has nothing to do with any religion or any, he's making a lot of effort to make very broad strokes with his brush and not paint anybody into a picture.
I hate to do this to you, man. We are completely out of time, but thanks. I appreciate it. And as a matter of fact, Bruce and Dave, I wish we had time to get you on, but we have a guest coming on at 9, so maybe we can pick this up tomorrow.
I'm sure we will.
Yes. So we're going to come right back after the top of the hour news and visit with Dr. Alex Apostle, Superintendent of School District 1. If you have any questions or comments, we would love to have you on as well. Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Talkback's underway, brought to you by Bitterroot Motors, where they've been doing it right for more than 42 years, the Mustard Seed Restaurant, and by Office Solutions and Services. They're locally owned with solutions for every office. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I'm Peter Christian. That is John King, and we are privileged to be joined on the telephone with the Superintendent of School District 1, Dr. Alex Apostle. Alex, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Excellent. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a busy month. We've got a new survey back studying what the city of Missoula and the residents of Missoula County think about the potential bond issue coming up, so maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. We also have information, something I wanted to talk about with Alex a little bit about graduation rates in Missoula that came back and kind of comparing Missoula to the rest of the state. What did you think about the Missoula's graduation rate in this new the new results that came out early February?
Well, I'm pretty excited about the direction that we're going. In terms of graduation completion rate, we're at 89.5%, and in that category, we lead all AA school districts with the highest graduation rate. And, of course, we have the lowest dropout rate at 2.6% among all AA school districts, both of which are the best for the last 4 years. So, and what's really promising, I've checked the statistics just recently, we're down 42 students right now, which is about a third of where we were last year at this time. So we're making tremendous progress in terms of making sure that our students stay in school. And I give great credit to our teachers, our counselors, and our administrators, and our community in terms of making it a priority that we're all working together to keep kids in school. And not only that, keeping them involved in a highly relevant and rigorous academic program.
One of the things that caught my attention was it seems like we have some schools heading one way and some heading another. We saw an improvement in the graduation rate at Sentinel, which was already very strong.
Very strong,
and
91%.
And we saw Hellgate drop below the statewide average for AA schools.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what your diagnosis on that was.
Well, I can tell you this, that Hellgate High School and Big Sky High School are very aware of the statistics that were presented in this latest round of evaluations of graduation rates, and they are working diligently, and they're making progress. As I've just mentioned, the number of students that have dropped out of those schools at this point is very low. But I must say that even one student is something that we're very concerned about. And so we have a lot of work to do, because our goal, and some people think this is idealistic, I do not, is that 100% of our kids should graduate from high school.
Now, Dr. Apostle, I think one of these things could dovetail into what's actually happening today, and that is there's a bus tour going on that's actually going to include some of the high schools. I know that Hellgate is the oldest high school,
yes,
and it's kind of a, if you will, a cobbling together of several buildings and some additions and older buildings. Does the fact that it's an older institution and some of the infrastructure problems that might be there, might that have anything to do with a bit of a drop-off in the graduation rate?
Oh, I don't think so. You know, Hellgate High School is a cultural and a historical icon in Missoula, in our community. And people love Hellgate High School. The kids that go there love it. We have great teachers at Hellgate High School, great administration, and Hellgate High School is a great high school in the state of Montana.
Yeah, the way Peter describes it kind of sounds like Missoula's Hogwarts.
Well,
it's not that old.
Let me tell you that I don't think the facility as it stands has been a detriment in terms of the great things that are happening at Hellgate High School, from their co-curricular program to their academic program. Hellgate High School is a great high school.
If Peter tells me something's old, I believe him.
It's old.
This is the expert
No question
here.
about that, and that's hopefully going to
Wow.
be remediated to some extent with this bond issue that we're contemplating for the fall of 2015.
To backtrack just a little bit, you were talking about the graduation rate, and we hear as a city these numbers, 84, 91. But what does that mean? I mean, how many students actually dropped out?
Last year we had a total of 92 students drop out of our high schools. That's 92 too many. But when you compare that to 2008, when I came to the district, we were losing over 200 kids out of our high schools. And quite frankly, the records before 2008 were not as accurate as they are now. And the state is monitoring the dropout rate and the graduation rate very, very closely. Denise Juneau has moved the state of Montana to a point where graduating from high school and monitoring who does and who doesn't is extremely important. And so the statistical information from 2008 to 2015 is much different, much more accurate, much more valid and reliable than prior to 2008.
Now, one of the things that we spoke briefly about, you said that they were working on it, Hellgate, and all the other high schools. Of course, this is something that we're working towards, is a 100% graduation rate.
Absolutely.
But what do you see as the cause for the disparity? Was it just a bad year, or is it something that's happened over time? I mean, it seems like Sentinel's had a better graduation rate for a while now.
Right. Well, what we're doing, what our principals are doing, and they're meeting every Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the morning, our high school principals, and they're discussing what's working at Sentinel, what's not working at some of the other schools, and they're focusing on best practices, making sure that we're reaching out to families, to students that have special circumstances that need to be addressed. But I think that the one key that's going to make a difference in the long run is the fact that we're looking at each and every student very carefully. Counselors, psychologists, administrators, teachers are all taking the time to really investigate each and every situation as it relates to any student that's experiencing difficulty. And after all, it's all about relationships. When our students know that we care, that the entire community cares about them staying in school and finishing and going on, that makes a difference. The leading cause for kids dropping out of schools nationwide is they feel nobody cares whether they're there or not. Well, that's not the case in our schools. The kids know that we do care about them.
All right.
And the second reason they drop out nationwide is that the program is not relevant. They're not excited about the academic program. We're working on that with a number of different programs being initiated in our school district that excite, motivate, and inspire our students to stay in school. It's one thing to say, well, we believe our kids should graduate, and they can't drop out. But the other side of the coin is that you have to have a program that's invigorating. And I believe we're heading in that direction in terms of the programs that we've implemented in our district.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Come right back. Alex Apostle joining us, the superintendent of School District 1. 2 lines open. If you have a question or comment, give us a call. Dr. Apostle is going to be with us until 10. So if you have a comment or a question, we'd love to hear from you. It's 721-1290. We're coming right back. This is Talk Back, and we are back. 721-1290 is our number. Dr. Alex Apostle joining us on the telephone, the superintendent of Missoula School District 1. So we asked for callers, and by golly, we've got one. Let's get Jeannie on the line. Jeannie, you are on with Dr. Apostle. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I heard a great quote this morning that went like this: "The free press plays an incredibly crucial role in our society." In light of this quote, I'd like to go back to something I brought up on Talkback a while ago, and that is that I heard from a long-time MCPS staff member that the editor of the Missoulian, Shirley Devlin, and you...
It's Sherry Devlin. But anyway, that's great. Go ahead.
Sherry, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thanks for correcting me.
It's okay.
And you, Dr. Apostle, that you work in tandem on what is reported in the newspaper. I wonder if there was any validity to that rumor. And also, there was no reporting on the last 5 property meetings. And I was wondering if the Missoulian doesn't report on district business, if the district could put out more press releases so that the community can be more informed about district business, especially when there's possible changes to our school buildings. And one more comment. You talked about Hellgate this morning, and I had heard that they were going to one of the plans was to get rid of the gym at Hellgate, and I would just strongly disagree with that change.
Kind of hard to play basketball without a gym.
Right.
Or a
I guess
Ted
they
or
were
a
going to
Bob.
put it somewhere else, but I mean that gym has been there, I think, since 1940, and it's a very special gym, and there's just no reason to get rid of it, in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your call.
Okay, so Alex,
Got a trifecta here. So
in terms of Sherry Devlin and the Missoulian, I have high respect for Sherry and the Missoulian, and they don't really consult me in terms of what they're going to write. That's number one. In terms of the fact that maybe we need to be putting out more information, communication is so important, and I would agree with Jeannie that we need to maybe pick that up some to make sure that the entire community is aware of what's happening in our schools, and I think we've made tremendous progress in this last couple of years with Hatton Lippman, but we can always do more, and we will. In terms of the Hellgate gymnasium, I have no information that gym is going anywhere. I think at one time when we were talking about various ways to improve the school, that might have been mentioned, but I believe the latest information that I have is that that's not going anywhere. And again, I really support Jeannie in terms of the fact that gym has been there for a very long time. And as I indicated earlier, Hellgate High School is an icon in this school district and in this community, and it will be preserved.
all right, thanks for that. Let's talk a little bit, since we got another 2 or 3 minutes in this segment. Let's start talking a little bit about the recent poll on the bond issue.
Sure.
What were your responses when you read through the survey? What was your takeaway?
Well, I'm number one. I think that the survey information was very positive, and according to Harstad researchers, they gave us the green light to approach our voters and taxpayers regarding a potential bond issue in the fall of November 2015. The fact that we were between 60 and 70% approval on both the elementary issue and the high school, that's pretty phenomenal. My experience has been that usually you get a lot more support for the elementary than you do the high schools, but I believe our taxpayers understand that we're looking to, number one, improve our technology infrastructure. We're probably 10 to 15 years behind there, and we owe it to our students and to our staff to be current as possible when it comes to technology infrastructure that supports teaching and learning, that supports our support systems like business and finance and human resources. We're, again, between 10 and 15 years behind in that area. The fact that the bond issue is going to focus on safety and security, parents are very concerned about our schools and being safe and secure for our staff and for our students. And when most of our schools were built, safety and security was not as important as it is in today's world. So safety and security, technology infrastructure, which is important to our students' success, and of course, updating our facilities. The average age of our facilities is 57 years of age, and a lot has happened in 57 years. And our teachers and students deserve facilities that support a 21st century teaching and learning environment. We don't want our teachers teaching in dingy basements like they are in some schools. We don't want them sweltering in the spring heat, and we don't want them freezing in winter cold. So there are many, many needs in terms of maintenance and operations that need to support the world that we're in today. And so we're going to do our best, and I know the trustees are the final say on this bond issue, and I know that the administration and the staff and the trustees are very concerned about our taxpayers and what we're going to ask for in terms of this bond issue. So the public can be reassured that we're fine-tuning our needs and our request so that we are in total sync with our voters, our taxpayers. But we did get very, very favorable results regarding this particular survey.
You know, Alex, we're up against a break, and we have a caller. But I did run into a person visited with me about a concern that they had.
Yes.
Especially when they consider, you just talked about safety and security, and that's what brought this up. If you're going to be spending a lot of money to redesign the schools so they'll be safer from a possible thing, a tragedy that could happen as has happened in schools across the country.
Right.
And the question that was presented to me was, why do you want to spend millions of dollars for something that could be solved by a simple change of policy by allowing someone on campus to be armed? It just seems like not only would it save millions of dollars, but it might bring a sense of safety and security to a situation that there hasn't been a whole lot of that there. So if you wouldn't mind addressing that when we come back.
Now, are you saying to allow weapons on campus?
Just having somebody on campus, whether it's an officer or whether it's an administrator or whatever, to have access to a firearm. So if the worst happens, wouldn't have to wait 20, 30, 40 minutes or an hour for someone to arrive.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So we'll come back and we'll talk about that. We also have Pete on the line, and Pete just left. Yeah. We'll be right back with more in a moment. Back on Talkback, 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. Dr. Alex Apostle, Superintendent of School District 1. Doctor, I relayed a concern that someone brought up to me about the whole idea of redesigning the schools at a cost of millions of dollars, when a simpler solution would simply be to allow guns on campus, basically, to responsible individuals.
Yeah. Well, I must say that I don't believe that weapons should be allowed on school campuses. That's just my sense of things. We do have police in our schools that have weapons, but that's one person per school, and it's not even one person per school. But technologically, when we're talking about increasing safety and security in our schools, we're thinking about technological types of systems that might help us monitor the school better than what it is right now. There are many options. I'm not sure that it would be in the millions of dollars, but when you consider how important it is to maintain a safe and secure environment for our students and staff, really there's no price tag on that. And as you've mentioned, Peter, these things that we hear about on the news can happen in places like Missoula. So we need to be proactive as it relates to safety and security, and this bond issue will help us do that. We don't want to be in a position where we say, well, we should have, could have, would have. We don't want to be there, because we're talking about our students' lives and safety and our staff, and there's no substitute for being proactive and preparing, I might say, for the worst, and hoping for the best. But
now that being said, Alex, how is the active resistance training going? Have you had a chance to go through all the schools yet?
Well, we haven't trained all of our staff. I've personally gone through the training, and it's wonderful. We've trained right now about close to 350 of our staff members. The goal is to train all of our staff, and the reports that we're getting from staff have all been absolutely positive. Some staff have said it's the best professional training that they've ever been through. And so, we're moving in that direction to better train our staff to protect themselves and their students. But at the same time, we need to make sure that our schools are safe and secure, especially as it relates to the entrances to our schools. Right now, in most of our schools, you can be in a classroom within seconds. And in this day and age, that's not where we want to be. And so, again, it's a major part of our bond issue to make sure that our schools are safe and secure.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, we had a question from Pete a little bit ago. He had to drop off the line, but it was about Senate Bill 107, I believe, the bill that would allow certain precincts to expand into high schools. In the case of Missoula, it would be Hellgate Elementary adding on a high school. It would be the potential there. And he wanted to know, I think he wanted to ask a question about who should be involved in the vote for such a situation. Would it be all the county? Would it be just the little precinct that would service the school, et cetera? What are your thoughts on something like that, Alex?
My sense is that the impact of that decision would impact all citizens within Missoula County, and I believe that all citizens should have the right to vote on the issue. That's contrary, I'm sure, to many people's point of view, but I feel that's the fairest way to deal with any issue, and in particular, this Senate Bill 107.
All right.
Let's get one quick call in here real quickly. Of course, this won't be a quick call. Hi, Catherine.
Good morning.
Hey, do me a favor. Ask your first question, and then we'll take a break and come back and get the rest, okay?
How do you think? Well, okay, never mind.
I know you.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, this has actually, this is more like an informational question.
All right.
Hellgate Jazz Band is giving a concert on Saturday at the Senior Center. It's to send the band to New York. If Mr. Apostle could talk a little bit about that, because the Hellgate Band is the music department at Hellgate is very good. So.
Absolutely. It's one of the best I've ever heard, and I know they're doing some fundraising, and the district is supporting them, and we're looking forward to them representing us at, I believe it's Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
Yes. And the tickets are $18 and $20 at the door, and there's two separate times. One is at 6 p.m. and one is at 8 p.m. And there's a silent auction also, and this is at the Senior Center. I just wanted to, because I know kids that are going to be going on that trip, so I just wanted to, point that out.
Very cool.
Well, thank you, and we're really proud of our students and the music program, the band program, the orchestra program at Hellgate High School. They're known for their excellence in terms of music and the arts.
Okay, and we're going to take a break. Catherine, we're going to hold you over. Larry, we'll get you on as well. Dr. Alex Apostle, go ahead.
Oh, do you have another question, Catherine?
No, actually, I don't.
Oh, okay.
So there's no reason to hold that line.
All right, thanks. That's
Peter,
a little I know. Shame on me. I assumed.
Gee,
and you know what happens when you assume?
You make an ass out of you and me.
Well, just me. We'll be right back. Talk Back, rolling right along. Thursday, February 19th. Thanks for joining us here on Talk Back. John King is over there. I'm Peter Christian.
I just wanted to give a moment to praise Alex Apostle a little bit, because during the break we were kind of talking about, he asked me, how many other city, state officials come on and do this? And you know what? I was thinking about it, and there's not very many that are willing to do what Alex is doing right now, which sounds kind of shocking. We used to have the mayor on pretty regularly. He dived after getting a tough question, apparently. We've had other guests on that have not made it regularly onto the show.
Well, let's put it this way. We haven't really asked the county commissioners very often. We should have them on once a month.
We have. It's true. We probably should. But we've had Gene and others in studio. And certainly when they were running their campaigns, we had all of the competitors on.
Sure.
So people have been willing to come on the show, but not to take your questions for an hour, as Alex has been able to do month after month. And by the way, he's not always getting these softball questions. I mean, we've heard him asked about his pay raise and asked about what he's doing wrong here or there. So everyone has an opinion, and it's nice to be able to express them publicly with a public official. So thanks for that, Alex.
Thank you.
All right, let's get back to the phones. And Larry, good morning. You're on Talk Back with Dr. Apostle. Go ahead.
Good morning, and I want to, again, thank Dr. Apostle for coming on and answering questions. My question is a growing concern about the tax improvement districts that are being created in the city of Missoula. And I may be wrong, my data is a little old on this, but the way these tax increment districts are created is they identify an area and they freeze the taxes that go to all the taxing jurisdictions, and any increase in the taxable value for a period, usually around 15 years, is diverted into the Missoula Redevelopment Agency for improvements within that area, but they're not available to the taxing jurisdictions. And I wanted to ask Dr. Apostle how much of the school's tax base is tied up in these, I believe there's 6 of them now, tax increment financing districts.
Well, Larry, a very, very good question, and you seem very knowledgeable about the issue. I'm sorry to tell you, I don't know much about that issue and specifically your question, but I would be happy to get back to you somehow with the answers to that.
Well, tax increment financing districts are something that's done out of the city, I believe,
yes.
Or the county, not from the superintendent's.
No,
position.
not from the school district, no.
No, but they do affect the tax base because the county taxes, the school taxes,
right.
and some of the other tax-supported jurisdictions are essentially frozen at whatever year that tax increment district was created, and all those increases in property value don't go back to those taxing jurisdictions, they go back into the MRA. And there's a lot, I think with 6 districts, there's quite a bit of tax base that is currently not available to the school district to use for its operating expenses, and I'm growing more and more concerned about that.
That's a really good point, Larry. Do you know?
Very good point.
Alex, do you know if that's taken a bite out of the money that would be flowing to schools?
I'd rather not comment until I had specific information, but Larry has brought up a very important issue, and I'm going to be looking into that.
Interesting.
And as I say, my data may be a little bit dated, but I do know that it used to be the removal of blight, but now they've relaxed the definition to where I think they can call it underutilized property. And I know that the industrial park out here by the airport has its own tax increment financing district, and with the 6 there's a lot of tax base.
I can tell you from my conversations with the city, I'm going to say I think it's Bruce Bender that I was speaking with. I asked him, are there any negative drawbacks to these tax increment financing districts? And he said no. Basically, they're all good ideas. So I'd be really interested to see if they are drawing any money away from the school system.
Well, what brought this up again was the fact that Patrick Barkey's comments about the tax base being low in the city of Missoula, even though there's a large property increase, building increase in construction.
Yeah, that was at the State of the City address at the Doubletree the other day.
Right, and I think that may be part of why that tax base is so low, because it's unavailable to the other taxing jurisdictions. So,
right.
Larry,
thanks.
Larry, thank you for bringing this to my attention.
And by the way, Larry, one of the reasons he's so well informed is he was a city official for many years back in the 80s. Okay. And has kept his hand in and is very, very intelligent guy.
I would say it's also very possible to be a city official and not know a whole lot. It's very possible. Well, not pointing anybody out.
Allow me to say that would not be Larry. So Jerry, but we have Jerry who's waiting to visit with you, Alex. But we're up against a break. We'll come right back and get Jerry's call, and somebody's on the other line. And if you can't get through, get onto Facebook, onto the KGVO page, and leave your comment there. We'll make sure that Dr. Apostle hears it. We'll be right back. Hey, it's the Thursday edition of Talkback, and we are privileged to have Dr. Alex Apostle joining us, his monthly visit, the superintendent of School District 1. Let's get right back to the phones. We've got Jerry waiting very patiently. Jerry, first of all, thank you, sir. What's on your mind?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Two issues, back to the security issue. I was wondering if the idea, instead of one man saying he doesn't believe in weapons on campus, has the idea ever come up of putting that issue on a ballot and letting the parents have their say on how they'd like their children and the students protected? And you said that you only have one security officer per school. Well, wouldn't the common sense answer be put more than one officer per school? Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. So how is that something that could be done legally?
Legally, I don't know, and I wouldn't want to say one way or the other whether that could be put up to a vote. But I just want to clarify that we don't have police officers in every one of our schools. We have them in our high schools and in our middle schools, but in the elementaries we kind of share that responsibility among the officers that we have on duty at our middle schools and high schools. But everybody has a different opinion in terms of whether weapons should be allowed on campuses, but I must say that having weapons in the hands of people that maybe are not trained would be highly detrimental, I believe, to a positive learning environment. I think it could be very tragic. So that's something that would have to be examined very, very carefully.
Okay. I think it's also important to note that the police officers, yes, they're people, but they're also a civic resource with a cost. And I don't know how much it costs to keep a police officer, but the time and ability to perform other tasks that the police officers.
Well, you have to remember too that, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, Alex, but what you're talking about is the school resource officer,
right,
the
school
SROs,
resource
right?
Officers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so their job is to be on campus and setting up relationship with the kids, and
right.
they become a very important resource to you. Please correct me if I'm wrong here. That is not just about law enforcement; it's also about learning how to trust and get along with authority figures.
Absolutely, and they're very valuable people, and they do a tremendous job in our schools. They create positive relationships with the kids and with our families, and they're very important in terms of our safety and security at this time, and will continue to be.
Okay, let's get Chris on the line. We have a line open, by the way. It's 721-1290. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, this doesn't have anything to do with what everybody else is talking about, and it might be a stupid question, but are kids able to be held back, or is that a thing of the past?
Well, that's a very good question, Chris. Our philosophy, and the philosophy of most school districts in this country right now, are that we're going to do everything we can to prepare students for the next grade level. Holding students back, the research has proven that doesn't do much good in terms of students. It creates some other problems that we believe it's best to do the very best that we can for each student, to support them and to provide them with an education that promotes them to the next level.
So when you say the problems that they found, is there an example you have on hand?
Well, psychologically, if you're held back from the rest of your classmates, that doesn't do much good for self-esteem, self-confidence, and those types of matters. So in our school system, we do everything we can to make sure that all kids are successful. Now, that doesn't happen with every single student, but I can tell you that our system is geared to support students from all walks of life, regardless of their circumstances and abilities. And it's not perfect, but we subscribe to the philosophy that we don't hold students back.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And there is something, too, Alex, that we live in. We're not exactly a big city like New York City or L.A. Well, there may be 10,000, 20,000 people in a high school. Or, in other words, the populations are small enough, still pretty big schools, but they're small enough so that there can be individual attentions to students who are struggling, that it's able to be able to perhaps come alongside them in the middle of the year. I'm sure the teacher will notice, call him Jim. Say Jim is failing, and so let's get together with the parents. Let's get together with the teachers.
Absolutely.
That
happens every day, Peter.
Yeah.
We have our special ed staff. We have various programs like Response to Intervention that deals with students that are having difficulty. We have, of course, the Montana Behavioral Initiative that supports students in a very positive way in terms of the overall environment. But you're correct. The size of our district gives us the opportunity to provide as much special attention as possible. Now, could we be doing better? Absolutely, and we're striving to be better every single day because we do truly care about each and every student in our school district. But we've got great people doing the very best that they can for each and every student. Psychologists, social workers, teachers, administrators, nurses, you name it. And we're on it, believe me.
All right, we're going to take we have a final 1 minute break. So Wayne, if you'll be patient for 60 seconds, we'll get your comment on. And we have one line open if you'd like to visit with Dr. Apostle. Now keep in mind, at 10 o'clock, we're all going home. So so if you have a question or comment, you'll have to wait till next month for Dr. Apostle. We'll be right back. This is Talk Back, and it's Thursday, and we are still with Dr. Alex Apostle, Superintendent of School District 1. We promised Wayne we wouldn't wait a second after the break. Wayne, you're on with Dr. Apostle. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Concerning the security of the school, I've observed many times regularly at Big Sky and Sentinel, anybody can walk in and out at any time during the day. The doors are not locked. It would seem like that'd be the first line of defense, is to have the doors locked.
Yeah, well, you're bringing up a very good point. You know, we've discussed that possibility, but with the number of the way that the system is set up right now, to be locking those doors each and every time would really pose a real problem for everybody. But at the same time, we do have schools in our district that do lock their doors in terms of entrances into hallways and so on. But at Big Sky and Sentinel, and you're right, you can walk into that school at any time, and you're in a classroom within seconds. But, it's something that we've talked about, but it's just not very practical at this point. But when it comes to safety and security, like you're referring to, maybe this is something that we can include in terms of our safety and security issue in regards to the bond issue. Maybe there's a way to do it that's more feasible than it is right now.
Trust me, Wayne, they're on it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the call. All right, let's get Anna. Anna, you are on with Dr. Apostle. Go ahead.
Yes, Dr. Apostle. I'd like your opinion on legislators saying we need school choice, when actually we already have that. I know for a fact because in our rural school district, we lose a lot of students to other districts, so we have school choice. What do you think their real agenda is when we already have that school choice?
Well, you're absolutely right, Anna. We do have school choice as it stands right now. I think this is a question of local control and basically giving the taxpayer, the voter, the opportunity to make a decision one way or the other. And, that's important too, but you're correct, absolutely correct, that we do have school choice right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I had a question for you, Alex. One of the things that's been popping up in Montana news recently is this situation with a 16-year-old student, Spencer Orr, over in Harrison, Montana, trying to get into high school. Had a bad history, apparently some psychological issues. But was caught one time with a gun at school and making threats, apparently, and had to go through a bunch of courses. And my question for you was, how would you deal with rehabilitating a student in a situation like this? Would they be allowed back into the high schools, and after what kind of process? Because the high school that he's trying to get into now has barred him from coming in, even though a lot of specialists say he's able to do it.
Well, that's because some parents found out he was coming, right, and said, hey, we don't want this kid in our school, right, even though he had been, quote, rehabilitated, end quote.
Right. Well, there's no question the public schools are responsible for the safety and security of staff and students, and we've got to be very, very careful in these types of situations that you're bringing up. A thorough evaluation of the student is absolutely necessary, but in some states, if you threaten with a weapon, that you're automatically expelled for the year. And it's a serious issue, and our students need to understand when they make these kinds of decisions to threaten, harass, or what have you, the family and the student are going to face severe consequences. We can't make a mistake and allow a student that has difficulties of one kind or another into our schools, because we can't have a situation where a student comes into the school and does something tragic when we've known past history. So we're very careful about this particular issue.
So if the doctors and the probation officers both said that a student was rehabilitated and ready to go back into the school system, would you allow them into the school system here in Missoula?
Well, it depends on what the offense was, and
bringing a gun to school is the offense.
Bringing a gun to school.
They also made threats against
students. We
students.
have to really get into and weigh all the evidence because, like I've said before, our academic programs are extremely important, and we're proud of our progress. But there's nothing more important than the safety and security of our students and staff. So it depends. I'd have to review, and the board would have to review the circumstances and the evidence before we would make a decision on such a matter. But I can tell you right now, when a student brings a weapon to school and threatens a teacher or other students, it's a very, very serious issue.
Okay, let's get one more call in. We have about 3 minutes left in the program. Mike, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. A lot of college students that are entering college are having to take remedial math courses. I was wondering how you plan to increase graduation rates without lowering standards such as math and not being able to, how difficult is it to discipline or terminate a bad teacher?
Okay, thanks, Mike.
I'll take your comment off the air.
Thank you.
Well, in terms of your first question, I really believe that, for example, at the University of Montana, the number of students from the county that are taking developmental classes has been reduced in recent years. And it's important for us as educators to make sure that we're not only trying to graduate students, but we're trying to graduate them with the skills and confidence to succeed in college. So that's extremely important to us, and we're monitoring that very closely. We have 24 credits to graduate. Those standards are some of the highest in the state of Montana and across the country. So math is an important issue. The ability to write, the ability to speak, those are all important issues, and our curriculum is supporting them as being very important. The second question was?
The second question was, how easy is it or hard is it to take out a teacher, remove them from the system if they are performing badly?
Because there have been legendary, things like the rubber room in New York City where teachers never actually really get fired.
Well, we take evaluation of all staff, including myself, very seriously. And we evaluate every single employee regardless of tenure. We do a very good job of evaluating our teachers. I can tell you this, that being in this business for 37 years, the teachers in the Missoula County Public Schools are second to none. And I think if you really take a look at the statistics, our test results, our graduation rates, our dropout rates, our teachers are fantastic. But, if a teacher is having difficulty, the one thing that we strive to do is to work closely with them, to make sure that we're doing everything possible to support them. But there are times when you have to make decisions that are very difficult in terms of employee performance. But we're very fortunate in the Missoula County Public Schools. We've got great teachers.
And I hate to do this to you, Alex. We are completely out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And again, we look forward to your next visit.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Take care,
Take
Alex.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Alex Apostle.
Very cool.
Great. All right, tomorrow.
We will be speaking about gas. We've got Patrick Dehan, not the
that?
kind you want to talk about, Peter, but petroleum.
All right. Well, guys, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.